Namo tasso bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So, are you familiar with Asarayana now? You're very familiar with him now, right? So, it seems that I wasn't going to talk about this last week, so that's why I was going to give you some homework to do, to read it through yourself and tell me the story. But since I forgot last week, so you didn't do the homework, then now I have to do the work. So, okay. Okay, purification is for all four castes. So this is the whole topic about purification. Who is eligible, or who is capable, or who can have the opportunity. So in this whole chapter, is actually the Buddha taught about the equality of all castes in getting purification. So in those days in India, it says that they have 4 castes, but actually, besides those 4, there is the 5th one. Very rarely people talk about the 5th one, but tonight I'm going to talk about the 5th one also. So there are 4 castes. So we have actually studied about the 4 castes before. So anybody could tell me what is the first caste? Brahmin, good. Brahmin. Okay, Brahmin. Po Lam Buddhist, Brahmin. And so Brahmin, they are the priests, the scholars, and they are the highest of all castes in the old days. And they are traditionally being teachers because they are priests. And they actually only at that time, or at that time, make up a very small portion of populations in India. Never mind, never mind. Okay, so that's the first one. And you know, after when India was the colony of Britain, actually the Brahmins are given a lot of clerical jobs, influential clerical jobs. And actually now, I think in India, Varsha could tell me that whether I'm right or wrong. The Brahmin actually, they are holding a lot of key positions in the government and in businesses and in science. And I think, did we change the cable tonight? Yeah, it's my computer. Anyway, never mind. Okay, so that's the Brahmin, the first one. And then the second one is the Katiya or Katiya Satalaya. So this one, this has a meaning of protectors of people, or you can call them royal warriors. And they're actually sort of like military troops. Okay, and that means they have a lot of power, right? Militaries, they have a lot of powers. So the third caste is this Vasi. And this Vasi is, they are sort of like farmers. Okay, I'm going to restart it again. There you go. We try. No, just a minute. See how it works. Okay. So farmers, dairy farmers, workers, and they are like in the trades. So a lot of them are actually cattle farmers and agricultural farmers and merchants. Okay. So the next one is called Sudi. Or you can in the Sanskrit term is Sudras, Shudras, Sudras, and this is considered the lower caste of in India, and this is really the lowest caste, lowest social class. They're considered so low that they are prohibited to study the Vedas. Okay, they cannot study those they called holy books, and they are considered as in nowadays they are considered as a scheduled caste, which show that they are sort of like underprivileged or disadvantaged. But there is one caste which is actually, I don't know why it wasn't mentioned in the old days, but this caste, I think because it's not worth mentioning, they think there is this fifth caste. It's called Kandala and Pukasu. And this is actually, these people are deemed to, these people are deemed to be entirely outside the scope of caste. And they are called intouchables or scavengers. Okay? And the Kandala, they mostly work as a leaf picker. They pick leaves. I think those leaves are called tendu leaves, Tendu. They roll cigarettes into. They roll cigarettes with tendu. And they are pukasu. They actually they are removing wastes and carcasses. Okay, dead bodies. So they are called outcasts and scavengers or untouchables, and they are considered. They're considered in every part of the world. It's the same. Considered to be the Aboriginal people. We can call them the First Nation of India. So these four castes, or you can say these five castes, the Buddha, actually this whole paragraph was talking about purification is for all four castes. And it all started with this wonderful young 16-year-old Brahmin, Asalayana. Asalayana, I think we actually studied Asalayana before. somewhere along here. I can't remember, and I forgot to look it up. But anyway, so the Brahmin actually wanted to challenge the Buddha. So they think, well, Asalayana he is so young, and he's so scholarly, and he knows all the holy books by heart. And so they ask him, you go and challenge this Gautama, the Buddha, the Gautama. And he said, no, I can't, because he's so thorough in Dharma, and he is so good, I don't think I can challenge him. So they ask him once, they ask him twice, they ask him 3 times. Eventually, he agreed to go. He agreed to go, then he asked this question. He said, you have described, here, he said, when he went, he actually paid respect first. So he was very courteous. He paid respect first, and then he went with a large number of Brahmins. And when they finished with all the courtesy acts, and then he said, Master Gautama, the Brahmins say thus: Brahmins are the highest caste. Those of any other caste are inferior. And Brahmins are the fairest caste. Those of the other caste, any other caste, are dark. So, and then only Brahmins are purified, not non-Brahmins. Brahmins alone are the sons of Brahma, the offspring of Brahma, born of his mouth, born of Brahma, created by Brahma, heirs of Brahma. Brahmins believe that they were born of the mouth of the Brahma. That's why they feel, wow, I am the children of Brahma. And Brahma is like the heavenly king in heavenly beings, the king of heavenly beings. So they are always that arrogant. So they went to challenge the Buddha with this. So he said, Brahmins are the highest caste. Any caste are inferior. And they are the fairest, though any other caste are very dark. And only Brahmins are purified, not non-Brahmins. So, and Brahmins alone are the sons of Brahma, because we are the offspring of Brahmas. We offer the offering of Brahma. We are the offspring, born of Brahma, created by him, heirs of Brahma. So nobody else can be compared to us. So how the Buddha actually disputed him. He wanted to dispute the Buddha, but how the Buddha disputed him with such a wise exchange, conversation. And the Buddha first said, okay, you are born by the mouth of the Brahma, right? But I have seen women. I've seen women with periods, and they become pregnant, and they give birth, and they nurse the babies. So really? So where do you come from, right? Didn't you have a mother? Your mother get pregnant and carry you in the womb for 10 months, and then after you were born, your mother nursed you, then where did you come from? You really came from the mouth of the Brahma? Where did you come from? You came from the womb of your mother. You didn't come from the mouth of the Brahma, right? So that was the first dispute that Buddha actually, or refute, that the Buddha actually talked to them. And then the second one he said is, so he asked him, so based on what kind of argument, or based on what kind of authority that you say that the Brahmins are the highest caste? Based on what? And and this Asarayana did not have any answer. Okay, so then the Buddha said, and the Asarayana is so stubborn, he said, well, even Gautama Buddha, you say so, but Brahmins still think that Brahmins are the highest. Aren't we all like this? Oh, yeah. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm always right, you're always wrong. Yes. Okay. So then the second challenge that the Asarayana said, okay, and the Buddha said, okay, you think that? Okay. He said, okay, in Yona and in Cambodia, where is this? Page 133. He said, so have you heard in such a cities, 2 cities here, Yona and Cambodia? There are only 2 castes there, master and slaves. And sometimes the masters are slaves, and sometimes the slaves are masters. So who were born by who are the Brahmins? Who are the highest caste? Because they exchange the role. Who will be the highest? Who will be the higher caste? So Asayana said, yeah, I have heard that. So Buddha said, so based on what strength of what argument and what authority that support you to say that Brahmins are the highest caste? Brahmin is the heirs of Brahma. So Asayana didn't have any answer to that. He cannot re-challenge the Buddha. So he said, okay, even though you say so, still the Brahmins think Brahmins are the highest caste and heirs of Brahma. Second time, being so arrogant. So the Buddha said, okay, so what do you think, Asayana? Suppose a Khattiya were to kill all living beings, take what is not given, commit sexual misconduct, speak falsely, speak maliciously, that means verbal misconduct, okay? And have a mind of ill will, very ignorant, and holding wrong view. So with the breakup of this body, will this person, Khattiya, would they be reborn in lower realms? And a Brahmin who commit all this will not be reborn in lower realm? And what answers does Asayana has? What did he say? He said, yeah, even though Gautama, you said so, but the Brahmin still thinks that the Brahmins are the highest caste. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? We're holding on to that view so strong. And so the Buddha continued asking him questions. Oh, sorry, I did not, I forgot to animate this. So look at point number 4, all right? So suppose a Brahmin were to abstain from killing. So if a Brahmin abstain from killing and living beings and sexual misconduct and verbal misconduct, a Brahmin abstain, that means a Brahmin doesn't commit any of those unwholesome deeds. And will they be reborn in heaven? So if a Khattiya or if a Vasi, if they do not commit unwholesome deeds, they won't be reborn in hell, in heaven. It's only the Brahmin can be born in heaven. Is that right? So Asayana said, yeah, even though Gautama you said so, but the Brahmins still think that the Brahmins are the highest caste. It's so funny. It's actually not funny. Not funny. Actually, you see that we are so stubbornly attached to our own wrong views. And with that stubborn attachment, how are we going to become purified? How are we going to become liberated? Right? So, and then the Buddha kept on asking him, is only a Brahmin capable of developing a mind of loving kindness towards this region, without hostility, without ill will? And all the other three castes, they won't. They can. Sounds like a typical 16-year-old. Really? Maybe younger than that. And then Asayana kept repeating. And so the Buddha kept asking, so is a Brahmin capable of taking a bathing brush and bathing powder and go to the river and wash off the dust and dirt, and not a Khattiya? So Khattiya and the other lower castes, they don't need to take a bath, and they cannot take a bath? Is that right? Asayana said, no, but even though Gautama you say so, but still the Brahmins think that the Brahmins are the highest caste. So even though you give so many reasons, I think you're still wrong. Isn't it the same? It is, isn't it? So, and then the last one, the Buddha said, okay, there are two groups of people. One group is the Brahmin, okay, and the other group is the outcast clan. That means the fifth one, the scavengers, the untouchables. Or you can say it was the last one that he said is the Vesis. He said, okay, both of them light a fire. And, you know, the outcast clan, what kind of would they use to light a fire? A pig's trough, a cattle's trough, right? A chicken trough or a pig's trough, definitely. And so, would they produce a fire? Or would they produce no fire? They will produce a fire. They will produce a fire. So when the fire is produced and when the heat is produced, would the heat serve the purpose of being heat? And Asayana said, of course, heat would serve, whether it's for the first group, whether it's the second group. When there's a flame, there is heat, and the heat can be used for the purpose of heat. That means for cooking, for boiling water, or for burning stuff, right? And so the Buddha said, so what kind of argument is this? So basing on what kind of authority you say that Brahmins are the highest? So Asayana said, yes, Gautama, yes, what you said, but we are the highest, the Brahmins are the highest, we are the heirs of Brahma. And so the Buddha said, okay, so the Buddha brings out another example. So, okay, a Brahmin girl marry a Khattiya boy, marry a Brahmin girl. So what do you call the child? A Khattiya child? A Brahmin child? Or you can call them both. So either or. So you can either call them a Brahmin girl or a Khattiya girl. And the Buddha said, oh, really? So what happened if a Brahmin boy marry a Khattiya girl? The first example was, this is the second. And he said, oh, you can call them both, either or. So the Buddha kept asking, really, basing on what kind of authority? How do you support your argument? You need to support your argument if you debate, right? You base on nothing to support your argument. So the Buddha said, okay, so what about this? A mare mated with a male donkey. You call it a donkey or you call it a horse? Oh no, you call it a mule. So why do you call it a mule now? So what kind of authority that you can call it a mule and not call it a horse or a donkey? Because you can call it both, right? So you can call a mare is a Khattiya, and you can call the male donkey is a Brahmin. So what do you call? Why do you call it a mule? Based on what you call it a mule? Based on what authority you call it a mule? Based on what authority you said the Brahmins are the highest caste? the heirs of Brahma. So, and then he asked them about these two brothers who are born. One is very studious, very intelligent. The other one is not. So which one would you feed first if you are the parents? Of course, you would feed the intelligent one first, right? And he said, why? The Buddha said, why? And what about the next one? Is the one is very studious but very unwholesome, but the other one is very not very intelligent but very moral. Would you feed? Which one would you feed, or who would you feed first? So Asayana said, we will feed the one who is moral, because by feeding them, it will bring great fruits. You won't be able to bring great fruits if you feed the one who is immoral. So the Buddha said, okay, now you took your stand on birth, like being born by the mouth of the Brahma. After that, you took your stand on scriptural learning. Remember when we talk about the 10 unabiding, non-abiding. Remember? Do not believe on mere say. Do not believe because it's just a tradition. Remember? Do not believe because the teacher seems to be a powerful person, or the speaker seems to be a powerful person. So this is scriptural learning, because this Bible is the holy books, it's from the holy books. And after that, you have come to take your stand on the very ground that purification is for all four castes, as I describe it. So for all these we have discussed, actually the Asayana did not have any points to argue back to the Buddha, but only stick to a point, say that, yes, you are right, but the Brahmins still think that we are the highest. So he didn't have any points. So the Buddha said, you actually believed in the purification is for all four castes as I described it, but you just didn't want to admit it, right? So when this was said, I like the last couple of sentences. He said, when this was said, the Brahmin student Asayana sat silent and dismayed. His shoulders drooped and head down, gloom, and without response. So he knew that he cannot argue with this wise person. So he lost this debate, because he will lose, because he's not talking about the truth. So, a short reflections today. I didn't want to do reflections at the end, so you all get mixed up. So I want to do reflections with each big passage. Okay, so first reflection is, so what do you understand about this purification is for all four castes? How do you understand this? Anybody? Maria? There you go, Maria.
I think it's really just what it says, like it's for all the four castes, as long as you are doing wholesome deeds and doing your best to be a good person, and you're not doing unwholesome deeds, and
yeah,
it doesn't matter where you are in life, as long as you are a good person and you are attempting to be a good person all around.
Okay, good. Your Bhaji actually agree with you. Your Bhaji. Did she call her Bhaji? Yeah.
Sorry, Sika?
Your bird, his name is called Bhaji? Your bird's name?
Oh, my bird's name is Barney.
Oh, Barney. No wonder why you didn't say anything. I call her Bhaji. I call him Bhaji. Bernie.
His name is Barney, and he's a cockatiel.
Yeah, okay. So he agreed with you.
Always.
No debate.
No
Unless
deep.
he doesn't.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Thank you, Bernie. Okay. Anybody else? How do you understand about this purification is for all forecasts? Varsha? Okay, next one is you, Laurie, if you want to say something. Varsha?
I thought that the Buddha's arguments throughout this chapter or this subsection showed that the castes are based on arbitrary characteristics, and purification is not arbitrary. It's based on our morality and our characters, not just sort of your label or your job or your those sort of arbitrary aspects.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, I was going to say a much simpler version of that, just that everyone and anyone can walk the path.
Yes, and Laurie said that from this passage, she thought everyone and anyone can walk on this path. Right? Anybody else? And everyone and anyone can reach the goal. Purification. Purification is the goal of practice. It's the destiny. Okay? So purification is possible for those or anyone or everyone who walks on this path. Okay? So that is equality. It doesn't matter whether your skin is dark. It doesn't matter whether you're fair skin. It doesn't matter what kind of job you're holding. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which tribe you belong to. It doesn't matter. What matters is your practice. Yeah? That's what this whole thing is about. This whole subchapter is about. Okay. So even though we don't have any caste system nowadays, it seems that. But there is this undercurrent, right? This undercurrent of caste. Are we always able to keep in mind that purification is for all people when we deal with people? Somebody in the Dharma hall shook their head. Why did you shake your head? Because there was a Buddhist Dharma teacher, actually, who died in Canada, pretty young. He was in his early 40s, I think. Actually, a very renowned Dharma teacher, Buddhist, teaching Buddhism. And he died of overdose of opioid. I think it's opioid, right? So his wife actually wanted to arouse society awareness, and suggested this every day, the numbers of death related to overdose, especially fentanyl. Fentanyl. Overdose, especially with fentanyl, to be published, to raise awareness. And just like COVID. But our premier said, no, these people are drug addicts, but COVID is a disease. That is a disease. That addiction is an illness. It's a mental illness.
Also, the fentanyl is mixed with all of the other drugs now.
Yeah.
A lot of the other drugs people maintain for years and years. So it's the fentanyl that's killing
Thousands.
hundreds of thousands every year.
Yeah.
So the fentanyl is like the COVID.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fentanyl's more of a problem
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
the drugs they're putting together.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Paul said that fentanyl nowadays actually mixed with. Nowadays drugs are mixed with a lot of stuff, and mostly it's fentanyl. And in the past, all these drugs actually did not cause so many deaths until fentanyl actually surfaced. And that actually death toll really rise, skyrocketing with fentanyl. So Paul said that fentanyl is just like COVID. It's true. It's just like COVID. Maria, you wanted to say something?
I wanted to add to Paul's story, the reason that there's been so many deaths at this moment amongst the drug users is because the supply chains were cut.
Oh.
For the ethanol and whatnot, so anybody that was dealing and selling was cutting it again and again and again until it became totally volatile. And that's why there's been so many deaths during this COVID period as well.
Oh, yeah. No.
And also people are
It's nasty out there.
Using more.
Using alone because
Yeah.
it's isolated.
Yeah. And also, they said we talked about that today. People are using that overdose of what drugs? Fentanyl. Fentanyl 中文係咩呢？ What is the Chinese? Opioid 啊，即係好似嗰啲opioid 係咩啊？鴉片啊，鴉片啊，聽到嘛？鳳瓊，鴉片啊，係一個佢 fentanyl 係一個變種嘅鴉片嚟嘅。Okay, so Laurie was saying that because people are stay home now a lot of times, so they're using it alone. So if there is a slight overdose, then that's it. And because of the social isolation, and I think a lot of them are going through very difficult mental stability, so that actually kicks up the problem also. You look up the Chinese for me?
No, sorry.
Oh, I thought you were looking up the Chinese for me. I thought that's strange. You don't have a Chinese phone. Okay? So those people in Hong Kong may not heard of fentanyl, but it's also very prevalent in Hong Kong too. 芬太來啊 Okay. 哇，個名 This is a very funny name. Is that also like it's an opioid, Ophelia?
It was made for cancer treatment.
Yeah.
Because they can put it in patches and
Yeah.
distribute it.
Yeah.
And it's cheap.
It's cheap, yeah. It's used a lot for cancer pain control.
It's 50 times more potent than morphine.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take very much.
No. I know. It kills if you actually use it recklessly. Okay? So even though we don't have any caste system here, are we always able to keep in mind that purification is for all people? So obviously ever said not really, hey? We tend to forget. So any other occasions that we will forget that purification is for all people, is for all four castes? It's actually very difficult. I think it's very difficult to remember the person standing opposite you, the person sitting next to you, has the same equality as us to be able to become a Buddha. And it's very difficult to remember that, especially when we are in conflict.
I was just going to say, especially if that person is not agreeing with you.
Exactly.
It's really hard.
Yeah, very, very difficult. Disagreement is actually is the biggest killer. To see the goodness. Well, when you look at purification in all castes, it's the goodness of people. the goodness, the compassion is the goodness, the wisdom. What is purification? Compassion and wisdom and total liberation from defilements. Those are the goodness. But when we are in disagreement, when we are in conflict, even with ourselves, we forget that one day we will be a Buddha. And why do you hate yourself so much? You hate yourself?
No.
Exactly. You really have to wear others' shoes. Wear other shoes, that means 點樣啊？即係將自己代入咗去人哋嗰個角度。Ophelia has something to say. Put yourself in other shoes. Ophelia. You.
We myself tends to look at others' shortcomings instead of others' potentials.
Exactly.
So oftentimes we really forget about it, even for ourselves too.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the problem. That's where that's where conflicts come up. That's where animosity arises. That's how animosity arises. That's how conflicts come up, because we forget. Catherine, you have something to say? You have to unmute yourself, Catherine. There you go.
Okay. Sifu, when you say put yourself into others' shoes, that means using empathy. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, empathy, understanding, consideration, embracing, right? Sometimes you don't sometimes you not necessarily need empathy. Sometimes you need understanding and consideration, embracing, more than empathy, right? So understanding and for me, I think, is not dwelling into that conflict or disagreement for too long. Not dwelling, because that is the whirlpool. It's a whirlpool. To place yourself in someone else's situation and seeing things from the other person's perspective. Yes, put yourself in other shoes, Claudio. Okay, thank you, Catherine.
People,
yeah, okay.
I also want to thank you for last Tuesday's lecture about me changing the attitude, and then I used that this week.
And it worked.
Yeah, and then I feel more happy at least.
Good.
I sort of let go. Yeah.
Good. Okay, Tissa. Thank you, Catherine. Then Nora. Tissa, yes. Unmute yourself, please.
Okay. What I was going to say is that rather than subdividing us to all four castes, if we do subdivide us to four elements, solid, fluid, air, and heat, that we are all made of, so that we become equal. So then we don't have
I didn't quite get it, Tissa.
No, but I think, when people describe who they are, I mean, they are made of solids, fluids.
The elements.
Fluid.
The elements.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fluid.
Yeah, the elements.
What color, what shape.
Yeah, right.
Because more.
Yeah. Yeah, thank
So
you.
we are all equal, so there's no difference among us.
No difference,
Except,
yeah, yeah. We are,
our
yeah,
perhaps, kindness and things of that sort.
yeah,
And,
right, yeah, yeah. Elements, right, yeah, you're talking about the physical elements. Yeah, we are made of the same elements of, water, H2O, right? You have H2O, I have H2O, right? Yeah, the elements. Okay, Nora, there you go, Nora. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was going to say the other people that we sort of write off and think aren't capable of purification are the guys in the prison.
Yeah.
Anybody, not just drug addicts, it's also prisoners. We think they aren't capable of ever, turning their lives around.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. And we all, Nora, as a prison volunteer, we've seen that it's possible that they can turn around, right? We have seen that so many times, and so we trust that they can be turned around. So otherwise, we won't be serving, for so many years, right? So yes, not just the drug addicts and anybody, actually everybody. Yeah, good, thank you. So, anybody else? No? Okay. Like the story of Angulimala. Thank you, Claudio. Angulimala. You just think of the... Remember Angulimala? Yeah. The one with 999 fingers garland. Huh? What young molo? With the garland of 999 fingers. Okay, so the last question is, what will happen if we do try to keep that concept or idea close to our heart? What will happen? What will happen with relationships? What will happen with interactions? What will happen?
More harmonious and more ease and more understanding.
Yeah. And Laurie said there will be more harmonious, more ease, and more understanding. And all these lead to more happiness, wouldn't it? If you are living in a harmonious environment, a situation, in a society, in a community, that community, I think, will be a joyful community all the time. It's bright, joyful. Even though it's on a cloudy day, you feel that there will be ease, there will be lightness, there will be brightness, because it's harmonious. And because you enjoy each other's presence, you appreciate each other's presence. Right? Shouldn't we be actually keep this idea close to our heart all the time, as much as possible, right? So remember the story in the Lotus Sutra. There is a bodhisattva called, the name of it is Never Disrespect Bodhisattva. Remember that? So, because why? He said that everybody, 常不輕菩薩, right? So everybody is the future Buddha. That means everybody, all castes are equal in purification. So if you don't understand Mandarin, and if you actually listen to Friday's Dharma talk about my book, Way to Home, I always, the last couple of weeks that we talk about, there is no real enemy. Who are the real enemies? The greed, the anger, the animosity, the ignorance are the enemies. But we, a lot of time, we actually directed it personally. Too often. that we direct it to a person and make it so personal. That's why it's so difficult to let go. So that's why in Chinese, there is a very wise saying, is that you actually direct it to the issue, not to the person. 處事對事不對人. So when you direct it to just that issue, and if that issue resolved, then everybody will be happy. If that issue is not resolved, then you need to try to put efforts together to resolve it, not to make it more and more personal. Yeah, it is important to include everyone and everything in your practice, compassion and wisdom, as the Amala said. Question the behavior and not the person. Yes, the behavior comes from the mind. Remember, Claudio. So remember the first verse of Dhammapada is the mind. We are all mind route, right? We are all mind route. The mind actually leads our actions, whether it's verbal, whether it's physical, or whether it's mental. The mind matters most because the mind is the biggest, strongest, most powerful director in play. So remember, the person in front of you, the person next to you, has the potential of becoming a Buddha. It's the future Buddha. So as yourself. So behave like a Buddha, like a future Buddha. Behave like a future Buddha. As always. Try your best. Okay, we dedicate our merits. May these blessings extend to all, that we with all the other living beings together will attain the Buddha way. May we wish more and more people will encounter the wise words of the Buddha, study them, practice them, and help themselves to liberate from all the sufferings and be truly free, happy, and peaceful. May you all have a good week.